Hessian fly is one of the most important pests of wheat in Kansas, and it's actually the oldest invasive species in North America. We've been battling Hessian fly for a very long time. It can cause upwards of 6 bushels per acre per larva per stem. It's one of those things where if you're growing wheat in Kansas and you don't want to put a lot of inputs like insecticides and other things, then controlling this at the time of planting is really your best option.
Our work that we're exploring in this lab is trying to identify genetically resistant strains of wheat. And that resistance is a piece of genetics where if a Hessian fly goes into the wheat and tries to feed on it, then it turns on a gene in that plant that actually poisons the Hessian fly. And so that sort of naturally existing genetic trait is something that we're trying to identify.
Yeah, actually Trevor and I met, probably upwards of 6 years ago on another project. This was funded by the Plant Biosecurity Cooperative Research Center out of Australia, which really deals with invasive species. And so Hessian fly at that time is not in Australia, and this became an actual testing ground for us to understand the use of remote sensing like small unmanned aircraft systems to be able to go into a wheat system and see if we can detect Hessian fly infestations.
When a wheat plant is under Hessian fly pressure, when there's been a larva that's gone down into the stem and is trying to feed off of it, if that plant is susceptible to the Hessian fly, then it's going to react in different ways depending on the time of year. If the plant's infested in the spring, that can also cause all those different changes in color, but it can also cause a plant to be stunted in its growth. So that's also another signal that we can capture with drone sensors, and we can see those height differences between a resistant or a susceptible variety of wheat. That's what I like about this technology and working with it, is it helps prioritize a wheat breeder's time. It can also help prioritize a farmer's time, to where you can map a field and then you can identify these areas that are struggling more than other areas, so that can help then allocate, okay, I need to focus on this variety, or I need to focus on this area of the field.
I would say in the agricultural space, especially from, we're looking at very small plots here, but if you're a wheat grower and looking at 100 acres of wheat and trying to make decisions not only on the spot but also into the future, you're going to need access to data. And not only access to the data, but how do you make inferences about what the data is that's in front of you, and that's what requires a significant amount of analytics. So how do we start to bridge that gap between what the industry needs are and then what the educational needs are? In this case, it's training somebody like Trevor to be able to use his current skills, but bridge that gap with data analytics.